Thanks so much for tuning in. This will be the June 2026 meeting updates. We actually had three meetings so far this month. The first was the council briefing, the second was an audit briefing, and then the final was the actual council meeting. So I'll start off with the council briefing. There were really only three items there that weren't addressed in the regular meeting. The first two I'm going to lump together. It seems as we go forward that more and more of our grants and state and federal money require public participation. And I certainly understand the point. They want to ensure that the elected officials are not carrying forward their own agendas without input from the public. And so a portion of each of these grants, the weight of them, there's many parts that goes into it, the engineering, how much skin do we have in the game, what is the project, the dollar amount, all these things, but a portion of it is community feedback. So currently we have two grants. One is the Safe Streets for All, which is the project we're looking at in the Dog Legs and Gloria Switch. And then the second one is a block grant that we're looking to get some money for Carecrow Park. And so if you go to our social media pages, particularly the city's social media page, they'll have some QR codes or links there. We certainly would appreciate you filling those out. It goes a long way to help us bring your tax dollars back from Baton Rouge and back from Washington. And then the other item was a drainage master plan. This is in the early stages. They are working to get some funding from the state for this as well. And Alfred Senegal's, really spearheaded drainage for quite some time. It kind of has worked out that each council member sort of has their own little pet project or two, and then of course we all work together. But Alfred's really dug in on drainage and has invested there, so he's going to head that up. And once we get some more data and some funding, we'll look for a firm to come in and help us. It'll be comprehensive. It'll be everything from ditches and culverts to regional drainage. Retention ponds has been a big thing that Alfred has pushed for in the past, and so more to come on that. But there was kind of a kickoff or a start of that process to get a drainage master plan. One of the things that I asked for, or brought up, was to try to, as part of this, get um, a a plan for digging ditches and clearing culverts. Currently we kind of do it on a as needed basis. As we see water in an area or get a complaint, we'll go out and dig that area. Um, but of course, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And so if we can have a plan, maybe it's a 3-year or 5-year plan, I'm not sure what it would look like, but we would need an inventory of all the ditches, and then each year have a plan on these are the areas that we're going to go and really focus the efforts. And so I'm hopeful that's something that will come about. That won't happen this year. It may not even be a next year thing, but it's in the pipeline. It's something that we're looking at, talking about, thinking about. The rest of the items from the council briefing were addressed in the regular council meeting, so I'll save those and only talk about them once. The next meeting we had was the audit briefing. I had a few questions about this, so to give you a basic overview of how the budget process works, around this time of year, late June, early July, the council and the mayor and the department heads start talking about the budget. And so looking at numbers from last year, um, and trying to figure out where do we need to go, what projects are coming up, what things can we cut, where can we go up. Um, and so that happens about this time of year, and it takes us usually until November to get that done. And then in November, the council will be presented a budget. The mayor's role is to present the budget, and the council's role is to approve or not approve the budget. Once that's approved, our fiscal year starts December 1st. So the previous fiscal year ends the last day of November. Then, of course, there are still bills coming in, checks that are clearing, those kinds of things from the previous fiscal year. So those get closed out through December and some of January. And then in the early part of the year, February-ish, March, the auditors will come in. This is a requirement of the Louisiana legislator that each municipality get audited. And so they come in, they look through all of the financials. They dig in very deeply and come up with a report of finalized actual numbers, and then they present that to us, typically around the May-June time period. And then those actual numbers are what are used to start the process over for next year. So in this month, we got our audit report back. Overall, I'll say very, very healthy report. Many of you remember about 3 years ago, I guess, or 2 years ago, there were 20 something findings, negative findings. Those are problems. Those are things that they have found. They can range from something minor, like we had too many transfers, to theft or fraud, which we have not had, but just to give you an idea of what they could find. That was brought down significantly last year, and then this year we're down to 3. And so that, I think it's certainly a testament to the mayor and her staff, the council, and all the people who put into this. Of the 3 findings, in my opinion, 2 of them will be resolved within this year. One of them was a segregation of duties finding. That's always been on there since I've been on the council. We just haven't had enough people to ensure, in financials, everybody needs to have a separate job so that we can be sure no hands are in the cookie jar. And the mayor is confident, as well as the staff, that they can actually get that off for the next year. They believe we do have enough people for a full segregation of duties. So I think that'll come off. And then there was a finding, there was an issue with the point of sale system at Pelican Park. And so not all of the entries were carried over, as I understand it. But again, the new, that should be remedied because the new concession stand is up. They're using the point of sale. So all of those things should resolve themselves. The one finding that was left is related to the Sable Seasoning Festival. We had it before, and this is very, very similar, in my opinion, to all the foot stomping that I did about KSI. And it's very complicated when a municipality deals with a nonprofit, and there's money that is, there's money involved. Rightfully so, the auditors get very nervous because those are public funds, and it can become very, very easy, if you're not careful, that there could be mismanagement of that. The finding really had nothing to do with mismanagement. There was nobody that I'm aware of believes there's any mismanagement, but there are multiple layers of requirements to ensure things are appropriate. And so those are things like cooperative endeavor agreements, contracts, and the like. Again, the mayor believes this will be resolved by next year. I thought it was going to be resolved this year. And so I have reviewed some documents that our attorney has put together. Our attorney, has met with the auditors. He has met with other people to ensure that we have the right documents. So I do suspect the council will get a contract or a new cooperative endeavor agreement going forward. The thing that the mayor has said in the meeting was that Sable Seasoning Festival does not, should not, or there is no plan that they will come to the council for a loan this year. And to be clear, it is everyone's understanding, the council, Sable Seasoning Festival, that it is a loan. And so those are the types of things that are being worked out in the documents. I've had a great relationship with the leaders of that group, and the mayor has been very involved. And so I feel certain that we're going to get it worked out. It's just a matter of making sure the language is right. And so more to come on that, but I think that will be worked out well in the next few months. Just to give you an idea, in the past, I've really kind of dug in deep on the numbers, and I think it's too much to kind of wrap your head around. Just to give you an idea of some of the numbers that we're looking at, These are 2025 actual numbers. We took in about $17 million in taxes. When you look at the money from grants and such and licenses and various the utilities, total revenue the city brought in was right at $29.5 million. And then the expenditures were right at $22.5 million. Some of the things that kind of jump off at the page on what are the biggest expenses there. So utilities cost us right at $7 million, and they brought in right at 6.7 million. And so overall, if you just did those numbers really quickly in your head, you end up with about a $7 million surplus, which is a little bit misleading because a lot of those funds are restricted, particularly the sewer tax, the 2016 tax, is pretty restricted. So that's not $7 million in cash that the city has that can be used. Some of those are earmarked for projects and they came in and they'll have to be spent. And um, the numbers are a little misleading, but just to give you an idea of the scale or the scope of what the city's dealing with, total revenues right at 29.5 million, total expenses right at 22.5 million. Budget was really good in terms of variance, 1% variance on the revenue side and 0.1% variance on the expenditure side. This basically means that um, the administrative staff who deal with the budget every day did a really good job of figuring these numbers. If you think about how big they are, from what we budgeted to what we ended with, to be 1.5 or 0.1% is really really incredible. So I commend them for that. The next thing that's usually big or important is the utility fund because it's the biggest numbers on the page. It's a $6.7 million revenue. It's about a $7 million expense line item, and so that's one of the things I usually dig in heavy to. Um, what I'll tell you of a high level overview is that sewer and water is in a good place. We are in the black. We're cash positive. We are covering our depreciation costs, and so I don't anticipate any adjustments or no increases in water or sewer. Gas has been a problem for some time. Just to give you an idea of where we're at in gas, there's about 792 customers. Those customers pay right at $88 each per month, and the operating cost is $125 a month. So we're losing about $37 per customer per month in gas. Now, a lot of that, a portion of that, not a lot, but a portion of that is in depreciation. So that's not a real cash number, but it is a number that we have to account for. The legislative auditor says you have to account for your depreciation like it's cash. So we're losing $37.20 per customer, but $8.43 of that is depreciation. So it's not really cash. So when you back that out, what you're left with is right at $28.75 per customer per month in cash losses. That is up from $18 per customer per month last year and $17 the year before. The thing that I think is interesting is that um, we're going to put some major infrastructure in, and so that depreciation number is going to go up. What I asked some questions about it during the audit briefing, and there were multiple comments from multiple people, and it sounds like one of the big problems is um, the gas rate moves monthly, and we are not keeping up adequately with those movements. Gas is a pass on cost. And so there's a formula. Whatever we get, whatever it costs us to buy the gas, we put it into the formula to add the percentage for the upkeep of the equipment and the staff to operate it and those things, and we pass it on. Um, but when the price of gas goes up, which it has been, obviously it's been going up and up and up. Fortunately, in the last week or two, it's come down. Um, if we're not on a month by month basis going up with it, we're going to end up losing money. So we're hopeful to get that done. I will tell you that I brought up in the meeting that I think we need to consider selling the gas system after we update it. We'll have a brand new gas system with 800 customers. I think perhaps one of the bigger gas companies may be interested in acquiring it. That's just my opinion. I don't have any evidence to back that up. Um, but overall, we're in a great place. We talked about the days of cash on hand. We're in a really healthy position there. We have some money in the different tax funds, particularly in the 2016 sewer tax. We're about to do a $40-50 million project, so we need money there. But we have the money to support those bonds and loans and such. So I feel really good about those things. If there's some particular question you have about the budget, I really enjoy talking about the budget, and I'm very familiar with it. And so please feel free to reach out. I'm happy to share the audit with you. It's public. You can see it at City Hall. Um, so uh, that's kind of what I'll say about the audit. I'll move on to the regular meeting. Um, we did recognize Ms. Brenda Olivier. For those of you who don't know, Ms. Brenda's worked in the athletic department at Carencro High, I think, my whole life. Very, very long time for sure. And she's retiring, and so she was recognized at the meeting, which is really great. We heard from some updates from the various department heads. I think overall, good reports. Fence to Makers report. Uh, the thing that I've been harping on is trying to make whole the city for the Cody construction project, which were some lift stations. I do see some positive movement there. I think we've gotten down to an actual dollar amount that is owed to the city, and we're talking to his bonding company, and so more to come. But I see movement there. I think everybody's on the same page. We talked a bit about City Hall renovations, and so that project hopefully will get moving soon. And you'll see some really nice upgrades to City Hall. It'll primarily be on the back side of the current City Hall. It'll be tied in, but there'll be a lot of other. We're going to do. There will be some some exterior upgrades as well, and various things. So overall, very, very good. We did amend the police budget by 15,800. This was to get the ponds in the front working. Also, you may recall we had an officer involved shooting a month or two ago, and so those weapons had to be taken from those officers as part of evidence. We don't know when we're going to get those back, and so we need to get two new duty weapons for the officers. We did decide to repair the pond fountains rather than replace them, and I think that's the best option. The company who initially put them in is going to come out and get those fixed. The next item was property taxes, always a hot item. We are not going to change what we had last year. So we were at 4.66 mils last year. We will stay at 4.66 mils. Property tax is a very complicated item. And essentially, when a property tax is passed, it is passed with an expectation to bring in a certain dollar amount. It's not passed at a certain millage. And so, as the property values in a community go up or down, that millage, at least in theory, could go up and down to bring in that same dollar amount. Now, that does not mean that your individual property tax will not change this year. Our rate did not change, but if the Lafayette Parish Tax Assessor, Mr. Centeni, reassesses or revalues your property and it goes up, then that percentage will cause the amount that you owe to go up. But for the vast majority of people who are not going to be reassessed this year, your tax bill will not change for the city portion. We're actually one of the smaller numbers you'll see on your property tax. The school board and the sheriff and various other people get property tax as well. And so, I can't speak to what they're doing with their millages, but the city of Carencro millage itself is not going up this year. The next one we had talked about every year. In preparation of hurricane season, we renew a contract. It's actually two contracts. One is for debris pickup in the event that we have a storm that comes. This company would come in we have to get this done ahead of time so we're not scrambling with everybody else at the time of a storm. So they'll come in and pick up all of our debris. And then FEMA, to be reimbursed, they require us to have a monitoring company. Somebody has to actually be at the dump site and watch or count how much debris is coming so that they know how much to reimburse. So we're going to use the same company we had last year. This was just a renewal of that contract. So those were actually two of the resolutions there. And then the ordinance for final adoption had to do with the cross connections. I've talked about this numerous times. I'm not going to talk too much about it, but it was about the backflow preventer. Inadvertently, $25 was listed as the fee in the ordinance, which it should just be whatever the fee is that year. Whatever the plumber charges to go out and check the backflow preventer, we will pass that cost on, plus a small, likely $10 administrative fee for us to line up the plumber, get all of the paperwork in, get it all off to the state. So my understanding is this past year was actually cheaper for most, if not all, of the businesses, rather than if they had to do it themselves, and they didn't have to deal with calling a plumber and going out and doing all that. So I've been really happy with this project. That was the agenda. I think I did it pretty good for 3 meetings in terms of time. But as always, please let me know if there's a question or concern. Emails are usually the best way to reach out to me because it gives me time to research the question or pull some documents to be able to reference. But you can feel free to call me anytime. And I look forward to hearing from you and being able to serve you.